Hello and welcome to Off My Shelves, and this is the first read of Attack on Titan, the Colossal editions, written by Hajime Isayama. Apologies if I'm butchering your name, but anyway, we will get underway. So yeah, this is the first read of Attack on Titan, and I'm doing a first read of this because I wanted to kind of capture my initial thoughts more than anything, and not dwell on things too much as ever. But I bought the Colossal editions of Attack on Titan. I read probably very little of the first trade paperback, to be honest, the first Tankobon manga, whatever you want to call it. And instantly I was intrigued and liked it, and I purposefully stopped myself reading too much because I thought I want to get into it. Hello, and this is me in his future. Now, the problem here is he's talking about a book that I've actually sold on already. The Colossal editions of Attack on Titan, I actually sold on and replaced them with the Tankobon size. Now, these are what you're going to be seeing throughout this video. So when I'm showing you the images from the book and things like that, it's going to be of these, not the Colossal editions. Now, the reason why I sold those on and replaced them with the smaller editions, you will have to watch and find out. But needless to say, all the images from the books, all the pages from the books are these, not the Colossal editions. So I'll let him talk about a book that he's liking here, but he'll sell very shortly into his future. Because I don't necessarily mind, buying loads of smaller books, but if there is a larger format of the art, then I'm going to buy it. But the art in this took me as very interesting, so I thought I'd jump in and buy the larger format of them. And so I bought number one, but then in fear of missing out, I suppose, but the manga shortage at the moment, there's a lot of manga that's being out of stock left, right and centre, and I thought, you know what, if I can get them at a good price, I'll just get them all. And I was able to get them well below cover price, so I just bought all of them. And this is all 6 that are out to date, really. There is a 7th volume that completes the story, so this first look is not going to be the end of the story. And certainly don't spoil the story for me in the comments below or anything, because I haven't watched the anime or have any spoilers at all. So I'm going into this extremely fresh, which is great. As soon as number one arrived, I thought I'd do a first look, but then as soon as it arrived, I started reading it, and before I knew it, I was on to volume 3. So that tells you a good thing straight away, is that it's one of those books that I struggle putting down. But it's also going to be one of those books that I'm going to struggle talking about without spoiling certain elements. So certainly if you want to go into this series totally and utterly blank and new, then I wouldn't watch this. I would probably watch the first few minutes looking at this book and hearing me talk about the synopsis, and then come back another time maybe, because there are certain elements of the story that you might want to go into absolutely and utterly fresh, like I did, because they were the bits that really grabbed me instantly. But I will try my best to keep the spoilers down to an absolute bare minimum. So Attack on Titan starts with a very basic premise, and the premise is humanity is living in a walled community, and all of this walled community is kind of spanning out over many, many miles in concentric circles going out and out and out. And every now and again there's another little circle with a city enclosed. And so all of humanity's population and cities and life is based within these walls. And they're in these walls because many years before our story starts, Titans appeared, and Titans were these mysterious creatures, large in size, up to 50 metres in height, but they could be anywhere from 6 metres right the way up, all slightly different physically. Some have kind of deformed faces and eyes, some have longer limbs, some have all manner of different things, to be honest, and some have special abilities as well, I would say. But the book opens up with our kind of 3 main protagonists, and the story does go into tons of different characters, but for the ease of talking to you about it, we'll try to focus on our 3 main characters. Now, our 3 main characters really in my eyes are Eren, Mikasa and Armin. Now, they are 3 children that in the start of the story, they're in the city, and then all of a sudden this colossal titan who's on the cover here appears, and no titan has ever been able to stand over the top of the wall. and he kicks a hole in the wall of their city, and then the city is overrun by Titans, and it is brutal. So the Titans literally eat humans, rip them apart, eat them to bits, and they just destroy any humans near. And this gigantic colossal Titan basically just destroyed the wall as if he was just kicking a football. And then we fast forward many years later when these children are signing up to a branch of the armed forces, and the armed forces in these books are split into two. You've got the military police, which are all about policing and doing activities within the walls, and then you've got the Survey Corps, which are all about doing missions, going out, trying to find out more about the Titans, trying to find out who they are, what they are. Because even though we're 100 or so years after the first Titan appeared, they still know next to nothing as to what they are, how they are created, where they came from, anything. They literally know nothing. And that is really where the book starts, is these characters having their parents, having their family devastated, and then basically joining the fight to attack the Titans and take back some of their lives, really. Early on as well, you're introduced to his father, and his father kind of teases that when he gets back from home he will tell Eren a secret that he's been working on in the basement of his home. And obviously it's chaos then. His father's disappeared, his mother gets killed, and it's just chaos. And one of the main plot points going through most of the book so far is Eren trying to find his way back to that city that is overrun by the Titans and trying to get into his basement, which he hasn't succeeded in doing because it's nowhere near as easy as you would think. The Titans are terrifying, I think, and the way they're depicted artistically is fantastic, because they got just enough humanity in them to be familiar humanoid forms, but then they accentuated heads and eyes and mouths or limbs or hair. He's just done enough to just twist their image to make them very freaky. And I've seen a lot of people call this like The Walking Dead and stuff like that, and there are similarities in the way that the humanity is being pushed to the brink by this force that's just come out of nowhere and that's just hell-bent on eating them. So they are quite zombie-like, but the size and scale of them and the abilities of the Titan changes the story massively. For example, when the Survey Corps are attacking the Titans, they've got this vertical manoeuvring gear that they use to get up on the same height and cut out a bit of the back of the neck of any Titan, and that is their weak spot. Sever that point and the Titan is brought down. So they vertically manoeuvre, so all the action scenes are kind of taking place in the air, so that humans are trying to get up and trying to get access to the back of the necks. But the world building is phenomenal. Literally, if you start off and you are confused about how the world works and how it's together, how politically it's together, all those answers come as you go through them. And the main parts of volume 1, I find, are, you know, that world building, introducing this threat and trying to understand and trying to find out more about this threat of the Titan, but equally then going through the training process with our 3 young protagonists and seeing where they go and what they do. And certainly Eren is this kind of, you know, no nonsense, good fist fighter guy who is just literally out for revenge for his family. His friend, who is sort of, when you start off you think it's probably an adopted sister or sister, but there's a lot more to that story which I won't spoil at all, but there's a lot of a deep bloody connections that tie in Eren and Mikasa together. And Mikasa is this just amazing warrior. She is pretty much the strongest person in this book outside of one other character which we'll get to in a bit, but she is just insanely talented. And when she comes, you know fairly early on that she is going to take everyone out, and she's just ridiculously talented with swords and everything like that. But quite early on, so about in this point of book 1, something happens. Now if you don't want any spoilers at all, this is the point to stop and come back. Covered. So Eren is torn apart by a Titan and then swallowed by a Titan while he's trying to save his friend Armin. Now Armin is not a great fighter, but he's a brilliant thinker and a strategist. And so between Armin, Eren and Mikasa, you've got a range of different qualities the soldiers would love to have, really. But in saving Armin, Eren gets swallowed, and then out of nowhere he then transforms into a Titan himself, and that changes the whole narrative kind of thread of the book, because now not only are the Titans mysterious and you don't understand what's going on, now this human protagonist who you've been following from the start has suddenly transformed into a Titan himself, and is battling the other Titans on the side of the army, but you don't know what the hell is going on at all. And so all of this kind of wraps in and keeps you engaged and intrigued. So for the rest of the book, you constantly are following Eren's path, trying to figure out how he's done this, why this has happened for a start. Can other humans do this or can't they? And so you're going through loads of different parts of the plot trying to figure out what's going on. But all the while the world building is going bigger and bigger and bigger, and you realise that the centre of the concentric circles are where the wealthy are, where the poor are on the outer side, used almost like bait for the Titans. A lot of the story I felt like it was quite allegorical for the real world. It was telling kind of stories about life and society and the difference between rich and poor and armed forces and all that in the real world, but it was using this very fictional backdrop of this walled city and the Titans to tell that story in a more of an allegorical way. And certainly there's a lot of things like that. You can look into this and match it up with what's going on in the real world on some level. By the end of volume 1, it introduced a lot of other elements like the church as well. The church is part of this wallist religion who protects the walls and won't let anyone touch or destroy them or desecrate the walls, because the walls are their great saviours, they are gods. And so you get all these different world building elements coming in, and it really does just slowly but surely peel away. But then what's not slow is the action and fast-paced lives of the Survey Corps, because their lives are going non-stop 100 miles an hour, and the action and the Titan battles and everything is non-stop really. But then the world building is kind of coming around it. Volume 2 introduces another Titan and another person who seemingly has the ability to transform into a Titan, and so again, then that changes everything, and you get a lot of ideas as to the Titans being something that you didn't initially think they were. And one of the most enduring mysteries of the book is, who are the Titans? Where are they coming from? What are they? But then you've got that other mystery, which is, why are some humans being able to turn into Titans? Are the Titans themselves humans turned into Titans? But then why is some in control and some not in control? And so all of these questions are there, and it's constantly unravelling some mysteries but throwing new mysteries in, but keeping you engaged massively. And I can't really say it better than this, is that I literally haven't been able to put it down yet, and I'm nearly finished off volume 3, and I'm going to try my best to read something else before I delve and jump into volume 4, but who knows whether I'll achieve it. But certainly volume 2 and 3 extend our world and extend the amount of people that have Titan transforming abilities, but it also really does bring in a lot of other mysteries, and there's mysteries intertwined in the walls, and so you get an indication that the armed forces and the church have got mysteries within the actual walls themselves, because the way the walls are constructed is not quite normal, and so you've got that going on. And also in book 3 you get a massive jump forward. Eren has revealed an ability that he has. Now everyone wants to capture him to use his ability for their own purposes, and book 3 really delves into conflict between humans and between the military police and the Survey Corps, and it very much turns into a political battle, you know, a propaganda battle, a hands-on battle between those two forces. But it almost kind of flips it on its head, where the Titans are the main enemies starting out, but then the more they go forward they realise their main enemies is actually the other humans within the walls. I'm going to get on cracking on with the rest of these, and I will come back and talk more about Attack on Titan once I get through some more. So predictably, I ploughed through the rest of volume 3 and then went straight into volume 4 without much respite at all really, and I have to say that it is a phenomenally kind of edgy dart racing series, because so often I find myself kind of excitedly turning the page and going oh, and holding my breath as to what's happening. That's how good the kind of action is paced within the book, and the character development is paced. And certainly volume 4 and volume 3 for the most part is a very different change of pace for the series, I found, because the Survey Corps themselves, you know, our main characters Eren, Armin and Mikasa, they're all kind of being tangled up in this political battle between the military police and the Survey Corps, and the clash between those two military powers is building even from the first kind of opening pages of volume 1 really. But that all comes to a head. There's this clash where the Survey Corps realise that they can't actually achieve what they want to achieve by battling the Titans without having unity and without having support from all factions of the military powers. And so there's really this big push to almost kind of unify all the people to one mindset and one set of thinking really. And that doesn't obviously go straightforwardly. There's a lot of to-ing and fro-ing, a lot of thought and mind games, a lot of battles, a lot of everything really. And eventually though, without spoiling too much, the Survey Corps kind of come out on top, and that then leads directly into the events of volume 4. There are a lot of secrets that are divulged in volume 3 and 4 about how Eren became a Titan, about his father, about lots of things, but every time they revealed something, it did that classic mysterious thing of revealing about 6 other more mysteries. So once you've been given a little something, you're given even more mysteries that'll intrigue you. And I have to say, I must be one of these people that like being teased with books, to be honest, because I don't really get frustrated that I'm not getting clear answers to what the Titans are, what their plans are, who humans are, who they could be or who they have been, or the past of the humans. So yeah, so I must just like being teased really. But you also get a slight reveal that humanity overall has had its kind of mind blocked and wiped, because obviously if they don't know anything about the Titans, if they don't know how the walls were kind of constructed, if they don't know loads of things about their own history, then how has that happened? Because they have been humans alive throughout that entire time, but suddenly everyone's forgotten. And so they give this whole narrative as to how that has happened, and that then in turn reveals stuff about Eren and about his being turned into a Titan. You also get a fabulous backstory into Captain Levi. Now Captain Levi comes into the plot right from issue 1 really, in volume 1, and he is touted as the best soldier in the Survey Corps, but he's very mysterious, he's very hardline, very driven soldier. Captain Levi is a really strong and intriguing character, and you get in this volume, you get an idea of his past, where he came from, his upbringing, all that, what made him into this almost emotionless soldier that's just insanely talented. But the whole volume drives to this big final conclusion where they're going back to Eren's home district. They've won certain battles in previous volumes, and it's all building to reclaim Eren's home district, to access this basement that's full of the mysteries that his father laid down for him before he disappeared. And still no one knows what's in the basement, whether it's a book, whether it's something visual, whether it's anything, no one knows. But they're not going to know unless they take that basement, and they can't take the basement until they take back the town and the district that Eren was from. So this whole build-up that's been coming from pretty much from volume 1 really, all the battles that have been leading to this final taking, going back to Wall Maria, back to the hole that the Colossal Titan made in the first volume, and retaking that district. And even though I really enjoyed the political kind of intrigue and to-ing and fro-ing between the military police and the Survey Corps, and getting introduced to the royal family of this world and loads of things like that, I enjoyed all that massively, and it was a worthwhile digression, I think, because the series could have genuinely become, you know, a Titan battling all the time, over and over and over and over. So they quite rightfully, the author quite rightfully took a bit of time out to work on more world building and the conflicts between humans. But then when he dives back into more Titan battles, it is just so good. And the culmination of this volume is some heavy losses, some insanely good action set pieces from Captain Levi and from Armin and all these people, and yet just a glorious battle that leaves everyone devastated. There are some heavy losses at the end of this book, and you feel them definitely. We're not sure of the survival of certain characters, we're not sure of the outcome of certain things, and so going into volume 5 now, everything is still up in the wall with the battle for Wall Maria, and so I can't wait to get into some more of it really. So a lot has happened, and yes, I am wearing an Attack on Titan t-shirt, and that should tell you all you need to know about how much I enjoyed Attack on Titan. I read volumes 5 and 6 and got to the end of 6 really, which is 4 volumes shy of the overall finale of Attack on Titan. It is complete, the manga is complete and the anime is complete, and I am yet to finish it fully. I've got to read volumes 30 to 34 to get a full ending really. And it's very strange how Attack on Titan sort of snuck up on me. It's become one of those books that I'm fairly confident I will return to time and time and time again. Certain books and book series I read, like Hellboy for example, or Usagi Yojimbo, things like that, when I read them, when I get to the end, I want to start them again. I want to read them straight away. There's no real stopping my want to do that. The only thing stopping me is the sense that, oh, I've got other books to read, I better get reading those. But a lot of series, like look at the other books that I've first read in the last couple of weeks. Rachel Rising, great book, but when I finished it, I knew I would read it again, but I didn't want to read it again there and then. Demon Slayer, again, I wanted to read it again, but I knew that I wouldn't read it again there and then. Attack on Titan, when I finished it, all I wanted to do was go straight back to start and start again. And that should tell you everything you need to know about how amazing this series is, and how absolutely mind-blowingly complex and intriguing and heart-racing and emotional and wonderful a series it actually is. So first and foremost, why I traded in my Colossal editions and replaced them with a smaller edition, which is rare for me because ultimately normally I upgrade in size to different formats. Here, however, I downgraded, so I actually bought smaller versions. So I got the box sets of Attack on Titan, so I have got all of the box sets, but they haven't all arrived as yet. But I've got box sets, season 1, 2, 3, part 2, all that, and the final season. So this is just your standard size manga with old stock matte finish paper, and it is definitely the first time that I've ever downgraded in size. Now the reason why is because, like I said, as soon as I finished Attack on Titan, I knew for a fact that I would reread it and read it and read it and read it. The Colossal editions are paperback books. There's going to be 7 of them in total. They're about 1,000 pages each. They're on average around 2 kilograms in weight or just over, each one of them. And it was hard to read 6 of them back to back, I'll be honest with you. You'd have to find a specific way of sitting because the art goes straight to the centre as well, and you are kind of creaking your neck around to have a look and get a perfect vantage point. But the main problem is that if those 1,000 pages were in hardback, you could just put your knees up or put the book on your lap or find a position that was quite comfortable, and the hardback would hold the pages where they needed to be. But with the softback, they just kind of give way and folded, so you're constantly having to hold that book taut so you can read it properly. And the thought of rereading this amazing series again by going through all 7 Colossal editions was just something that I found quite annoying. The spines on them would probably give out because obviously they paperback, they glue binding, the art goes straight to the centre of the page like I said, so when you're opening them, you're opening the page fully, so that spine is going to crease, and so if you read them over and over and over, they are going to wear. Whereas these, if you read these over and over and over, because they're not that large, they are obviously, like all books will have some wear, but they're going to have more longevity, I think. And that's the main reason I did it. I love the paper quality of the Colossal editions and the size of the art, but the comfortability of reading and the longevity of the book is something that I just didn't have faith in. I didn't like holding them, they weren't comfortable to hold, and so I sold them on and got the smaller versions, and I'm perfectly happy with that, and I really have no issue whatsoever. Thankfully I was able to sell the Colossal editions for pretty much the exact same price as I paid for all of the box sets, because I shopped around and got good deals. So I'm not even down money-wise at all. I'm just down size-wise. So back to the story anyway. In the Colossal edition, volume 5 and volume 6, it fleshes out the world of Attack on Titan to such a degree that it answers pretty much every question that you would have had going into the first 3 or 4 volumes, really. It opens up the world so gigantically. You look at the world beyond the walls, so you experience what is actually on the other side of the walls proper, and explore that world and see what's out there, and then see how the people within the walls are perceived, see how their history is formed. It goes into much more detail as to why the people have forgotten their own past and why they've kind of almost forgotten it as a sort of a defense mechanism to save them from something. But then also you get definition over these titans. So what Eren is a specific type of titan, an attack titan for example, and then you've got the armor titan, the colossal titan, but then you get a full picture that there's 9 of these titans and all the other titans are derived from those 9 essentially. But then where those 9 originated from, you get a bit of background of that as well. And so you get this origin story which never answers every question you've got, which I prefer, to be honest, but ultimately is an answer nonetheless. It doesn't fully explain everything, but it is an answer certainly. And yeah, what I love most is the things that have held true from the start of this series. The action scenes are just heart racing, and you are flying through this book because you're on the edge of your seat. It really is like watching an extremely good horror, thriller, action movie that you just need to know what's going to happen to your characters and to this world around you. And that continues right the way through to the end. If anything, it raises the stakes over and over and over again. And you get to the point where you think that it can't really do anything else to impress you or to shock you or to, you know, take you by surprise. And it does. It keeps doing it. The world building as the book goes on is just so good, and that's one of the things I love most. Is yeah, you're gonna like some characters more than others, but the world that they've created, the mythology, the antagonists and protagonists in it, why people are hated, why people are loved, the friction between various factions of humans, and the origins of these humans, and the kind of tribal origins of these humans that date back thousands of years, and how that's affecting our characters now. All of this is so intriguing to me that I genuinely, absolutely adored Attack on Titan so much. And I know for a fact that no matter what happens in the final few issues, because I have read and seen online that a lot of people are a bit meh about the ending, I really don't think that's going to change my mind about this series whatsoever, because the journey that I've had so far going through these volumes, so the 6 Colossal editions, taking me up to basically volume 30 of the trade paperbacks, the tankobons, the journey has been so full of emotion, so full of character, so full of allegories for real world and how we treat other people and how we deal with our ancestors to now and all this type of thing, how we look forwards to the future but not forgetting the past, but holding too close to the past, destroying our future. It's really so insanely good. If I were to recommend to you a book to read, it would obviously be Hellboy first and foremost, but put that aside first, it would be Attack on Titan. I really would. I think it's got everything that I think is good about a story. It's got those horror, thriller elements, action elements, great characters, great mythology, great world building. It's got everything, and I certainly think it's well worth a read, and I will be rereading and waiting with bated breath for the final volumes. I am going to be buying the final box set which will round out the series, and that'll be out in September certainly. And well, I say certainly, hopefully, because otherwise I will be really stressing. Either way, September, the Colossal edition, the volume 7 of the Colossal edition comes out, but also volume 7, well actually final season part 2 box set will come out. I will leave it there. I can't really wax lyrical about Attack on Titan more than I have. All I need to say is read it. Read it. And don't say to me, oh, it's a manga, I can't read right to left or whatever it is, left to right, I don't even know anymore. Because it's natural, because you do it a few times and it's natural, and this is something that you shouldn't be ignoring, I think. So thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.